This is the College Football Connection podcast with Marty Jenkins and Alvin Reed on 101 ESPN.
What's up, everybody? College Football Connection. Marty Jenkins in the building with my man Alvin Reed and Bradford Bruns. I am fired up, fellas. We were just talking before we hopped on air. We got college basketball night. We got big games. College football is here. Separation Saturday. It's going to be a big weekend. Can't wait to fire it up and talk with the boys. The band's here. After many travels the last week, we will get to that before the show ends. Listen. We catching fire. We 149 and 139 overall right now. Okay. We had a big weekend last weekend. We appreciate, as always, everybody tuning in and watching. It really is a pleasure, and we really, really appreciate it. Give me that Twitter handle, Alvin.
It's A Reed, Jayhawks. The A and the J are capitalized.
That would be Game of Bruns. Follow on that next, please.
Marty, 101 ESPN. Man, we got a lot to unpack. Lots to unpack. College football playoff, 1 through 12. Okay, let me pull that up on my phone here. Big takeaway, Boise State probably. Boise State being as high as they are. Okay, that's fine. And getting in over Army, whatnot. But, you know, everything looks good on that as far as the first rankings that were released.
I mean, yeah. Because if you look at it, some of the things that people are questioning are going to take care of themselves because of the between conference games, between now and the end of the season and conference championships. I think Miami's biggest game is tomorrow.
We were just talking about that.
I said, like, if you beat Georgia Tech, I think you almost could still get in even if you lost the conference championship game.
I think that there were very few surprises, no surprises to be quite honest, when it comes to the cream of the crop there. What we did learn at the same time, gentlemen, with respect to the higher level programs, the higher level conferences, whether you're talking about the SEC or the Big Ten, loads of schools right there with the 2 losses. You can't get to 3, but if you're saddled right now with 2 and 2 only, and you stick at that number, as opposed to the potential group of 5 hopefuls, you'd better be downright undefeated or have just 1 loss, with that 1 loss being to a prohibitive top 5 program. See Boise State in the case of Oregon, and I think that's what you're going to see the rest of the way.
I'd agree. I definitely agree. I think this is the first time we're seeing some of the shake-off of the expanded conferences. How do we have all these teams with 2 losses, but yet they would still be considered because you've added a Texas to, a conference here, and you've added some schools over to the other side that a Houston knocks off of a K-State, you're not expecting to see that. So the result of that is the 2-loss team. And when you start thinking about, Alabama and LSU going to play and somebody's done. As far as the 12 are concerned, somebody's done. And I think that's just shakes out the whole expanded conference thing. I think the Big Ten is also – the Big Ten might pull a Big Ten football like they did Big Ten basketball every year. They get all these teams in there, and then mysteriously they get beat.
Top heavy much?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't know. I believe in Indiana, but at the same time, yeah, we'll see.
Great segue there. My 2 biggest takeaways, I'll get back to the CFP in a second. My 2 biggest takeaways from last weekend. All right, I'm an Indiana believer finally. Okay, enough is enough. Enough is enough. I'm in on the Hoosiers now. They host Michigan this weekend, I think.
Yes.
And the other big takeaway for me, Franklin and Penn State just can't get over the damn hump.
They're always great football games, and they always come down to something. And now this something was, okay, Andy Koltenecki goes to Penn State, offensive coordinator. They're doing better on offense than they have. They're down inside the 5-yard line, and you run 4 plays with a damn lineman going in motion, and he does not block a soul on all 4 plays. Who designs that? Who should raise their hand and say, after the first one, let's not do that? That comes down to the head coach. Like, you were watching the same game we were.
And the head coach was confronted by some fans afterwards about the...
Hey, let's not run that play again. That's all I would say. Let's not do that. That's not working.
If at first you don't succeed, run it 2 more into the interior of the defense, which was tremendous all afternoon.
Right.
For Stadium, you cannot have a superior setup. You jump out to a 10-0 lead.
On a defensive touchdown, not to interrupt you, but
the narrative plays out. Drew Aller is starting. He's marching the team downfield. It could not have set up better for you in front of a record crowd there in Happy Valley, too. And yet you go into a play calling show. Chip Kelly thoroughly outclassed his competitor. On the other side, Howard, he was nonplussed by the interception, and that defense, as well as the offensive line on the trenches, both sides for OSU, showed up because you were down to your second and third stringers at left tackle. They had to shuffle everything around, and yet you were beating Penn State in its own house at the point of attack every single snap.
The one thing I will say about that is they're going to have their chance to get over the hump in the next few weeks. Again.
yeah.
Do it then when it matters most.
Yeah, and they definitely have a path.
Oh, yeah.
To the tournament.
Speaking of Kelly, everybody's favorite person in the building here, Brian Kelly. And some cats think the loser of this is still in and it could get in with 3 losses.
Please.
No.
I mean, you got to think about it. If Bama loses, they're not going to drop past 15th. I don't want it to happen. I don't think it's going to happen, but there's a possibility it could happen.
Well, okay. There's a possibility that it could happen, but I think a lot of stuff would have to happen in addition. Mm-hmm. I mean, a 3-loss Alabama team is not getting in over a 2-loss Big Ten team. Mm-hmm. I think that opens up because one of the things that's going to happen as far as Big 12 is concerned is the window to possibly get, another team in there is that LSU or Alabama are going to lose.
Yeah.
So now you've got, BYU hangs, loses a game, but that's it. Yeah. I mean, Colorado could still philosophically get in.
Mizzou. Just kidding.
Yeah.
Number 24, Mizzou.
Number 24.
I'm going to tell you all right now, I saw a national article saying if Mizzou runs the table, they're still in the hunt for the Final 12. I'll send it to y'all. I couldn't believe my eyes.
But it just depends on how many teams lost.
10-2 though for Mizzou. I don't think they would get any higher.
But you lost to that Texas A&M loss hurt them last week. I mean, that seems really silly to say because they've looked so bad and getting blown out in their 2 losses. But at the same time, if Texas A&M had run the string and Missouri then just had 2 losses, they would have a better case.
The Aggies were blown out themselves.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
just as, of course, you had LSU in its last game, and LSU as well as Bama. Both of those teams now have been sitting around essentially for a couple of weeks, and that's why for this matchup, quite honestly, Marty, I haven't the foggiest as to what to expect from the beginning of the game, specifically when you're talking about Roll Tide on the road. It's going to be an unbelievable atmosphere. This elimination game, make no mistake about it, in Baton Rouge, in Alabama, for all of the things that you still want to say about the program, about the blue blood nature of everything. This team can't get off to decent starts, especially on the road. See, case in point, the Vanderbilt game. We know how that turned out. Even Tennessee, for that matter, the hole that was dug by Milroe and company in the first half contributed to that performance down the stretch. Now, on the flip side, LSU and Coach Kelly at the helm, as he has said repeatedly so far this campaign, you can't close. Case in point, Texas A&M. And then even in the very first game of the season, which in retrospect looks terrible.
Very bad.
Now,
Yeah.
versus USC.
Yeah.
You couldn't see it.
Great game, though.
Yeah, right.
So,
Good point.
with Alabama in this instance favored by 2.5 at last check, it's a 6:30 p.m. kickoff. Both teams have been exceedingly sloppy for long stretches of the season. For me, Alvin, I'm looking at in that second half, I'm wondering, number one, which of the 2 offensive lines is going to be able to hold up better to a superior degree, and who's going to be able to make the clutch throws. Precision and accuracy, or lack thereof, has been an issue. It has been problematic for Milroe all season. There's not a better athlete, period, in college football. Now, Nussmeier can make all of the proverbial throws, but he's also been picked off 9 times this season. Who's going to be making the mistakes down the stretch? That's tough to figure.
All right. So this one, it is. Who are you messing with, first off?
You know that I've been on that LSU train.
Okay.
LSU at home, I think, having been given a couple of weeks to prepare for an Alabama offense that, quite frankly, with the exception of Jan Miller against Mizzou in the second half, Milroe was no great shakes. Okay, he wasn't even establishing that connection with Orion Williams down the stretch. I think LSU's more physical defense here, with the exception not having Harold Perkins Jr. It's going to produce a lot of issues for Bama, particularly if that O-line can't allow Milroe additional time in the pocket to press up and find his outlets.
All right, so you're taking LSU. Are you messing with the over-under?
I'm not 58
Okay.
and a half. Ooh.
All right, well, I'm going to tell you what. I think both defenses are going to struggle mightily in this game, like Little Giants action. We're going to see a lot of points here, a lot of points. I think Bama's O-line holds up better in this contest. I think we see Milroe, and I really love Alabama in this contest. I'm taking Bama in the over. Now, Alvin, 2 questions for you.
Ask away.
Obviously, who you rolling with?
LSU.
And have you ever seen a night game at Death Valley?
I have never seen one. I mean, on television. Okay. Yeah. I hear it's quite the spectacle, but, I mean, Alabama's been going through this for years. I don't think they'll be, overwhelmed by it. The reason I'm picking LSU is because I have my doubts about Alabama now. I really do. That their season, if you look at their games, if you look at how they beat Georgia, great game and all that, but it took an individual play to rescue them from blowing a big lead. I think LSU wins. I think they do cover the 2.5, but it could be a field goal. It could be stopping Alabama down near the goal line, near the end of the game, which, has happened before as well. So, yeah, and I got a little dash on the over-under because I didn't have a feel for that.
Hard no on that one.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm not sure on that one. I thought 58.5 was a little high. But I'll stick with LSU.
How many mental mistakes? How many mental mistakes at the end of the evening?
Yeah.
Chelsea.
Well, and that, turnovers. Yeah. And I know you could say that about any game, but this is one where, if you lose a turnover battle in this game, I think you're going to be in trouble.
All right, here's the other big one on Separation Saturday. Number 3, Dogs at number 16, Ole Miss. Slacks we check. Dogs minus 2.5, 55. The over-under going down. So in this contest, and I'll get to you in a second, Bradford, I am taking Ole Miss in the under. Okay? I don't see a lot of points in this contest. Georgia, they're due for a loss, and they can afford a loss. If they lose this game, they're still in the final 12. One of those teams that can afford another loss. But I think Ole Miss's offensive line is going to be the key in this one, and he's going to get all day to throw, okay, against that Dogs defensive line. And I really, really love Ole Miss in this one as they make their way back into the playoff hunt. And I'm messing with the under as well. Bradford, who do you like? And have you ever seen a game in Oxford and been to the Grove?
If only. It is definitely on that list. It is on the to-do list.
Okay.
And if we're examining this matchup, a la the first marquee showdown here on this edition of the College Football Connection, this one, for all intents and purposes, also it centers on the QB position because there's no doubt in my mind right now that Jackson Dart certainly is the superior option there. And yet you look on the other side of the football and you look at Carson Beck. There's nobody in the SEC who has more interceptions than the veteran stalwart who is supposed to be leading this offense and leading this Georgia team once again, presumably, to the promised land. But all 11 of these picks have come in the last 6 games. What has been going on with this offense? To wit, it's not just about the vertical passing game or lack thereof. Over that same span, guys, not sure if you're aware of this, but the rushing attack for the Dogs as well. Just 3.31 yards per attempt. That's second worst in the conference. We've been waiting week after week to see this mojo regained by Smart Squad. Now, the question is, in this setting, in Oxford, if you are not able to reestablish it here, what are you going to see down the stretch? Because I do think, actually, to a degree, I know that it's number 3 right now. The ranking is as such for Georgia. But a loss here, and especially one that wouldn't be particularly close, I think it would be fairly perilous for Georgia. But something tells me that in spite of everything that on paper looks to be stacked against UGA, and Ole Miss has a tremendous pass rush at that too. 41 sacks, that's tops in the nation. But I just have this feeling that Georgia, we haven't seen the most crisp game. We haven't seen the most crisp action in the past few weeks. And Ole Miss hasn't exactly been great for long stretches at home this season either. Okay? Think about the Kentucky game. And beyond that, a couple of other close calls. And Lane Kiffin, I need to see it from him, from his team in this situation, because we talk all the live long day about James Franklin. We talk about Ryan Day. We don't talk nearly enough about how Lane Kiffin, since he arrived at Ole Miss,
We're talking about it now.
is just 7-9 against ranked teams.
And I think because I think in our minds we feel like his teams aren't as good as those two other teams that you just mentioned. Not to say that he's getting a pass, but we always come across with me. There's this feeling that he's doing more with less. Got a great team. Got a great team. But he gets a pass because they're like, well, Ole Miss is really not.
Ole Miss is Ole Miss.
Ole Miss is Ole Miss,
Yeah.
and he's doing great, wonderful things. And the idea that they could actually be in the national championship hunt is a feather in his cap, not the fact that they lost 2 games, probably that they could very easily could have won. This is why I'm also rolling with Ole Miss on this one. I'm not really satisfied that Georgia is Georgia either.
Sure.
And I'm sorry. I know the game's in Jacksonville. I know that's so-called neutral field, world's largest outdoor cocktail party, whole 9 yards. Florida beat y'all most of that game last Saturday. And Florida shouldn't be handling Georgia right now in any game.
Hey, shout out to you real quick. In week 1, you said you weren't sold on Carson Beck. I remember it vividly.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
I said, right. Okay. Now, 5 and 6 interceptions. Like, dude, it's almost like nobody could. Hey, you're messing up. I know Kirby Smart is, old school coach, but it's almost like they're unwilling to tell him, like, hey, you're the problem.
Yeah.
It's on him.
Yeah, this is on you.
Let's have a heart-to-heart real quick.
Yeah, real quick here. Right. We're going to try to keep running this same offense, but you got to run this offense better. I think they run into trouble by falling behind Ole Miss, and then they're clamoring to try to get back in it again, and this time Ole Miss has one more play or one more sack or one more turnover. I think they get by. I am going with the over, though, Marty.
They break through finally.
Yeah.
You're going with the over.
Right. It's like a 31-28 kind of deal, so I'm going to go with the over.
And the defense is primed to make those sorts of plays down the stretch. You mentioned, though, the expectation doing more with less. That has kind of been the MO for Kiffin there in Oxford. Well, he's going to have to do precisely that this weekend, because if you think about the number 1 running back as well, you're not going to have that support in the form of Parrish Jr. He's out with the injury. And then for that matter, too, Trey Harris, he wasn't healthy for last week's shellacking of Arkansas, for that matter. So I'm not going to be delusional enough to say this one will play out in the vein of last year's meeting. It was 52-17, and Georgia ran it up, ran for 611 yards altogether versus Ole Miss. And I'm still riding with that Bulldogs train. I am hoping for one more week. I'm not going to play with the over-under in this particular instance, but the Dogs, they have to come up big. Now is the time.
All right. Can't wait for that one.
So I got 2 road dogs here. Now, and I'm also looking, because the lines are such that, I could see LSU. I could see Ole Miss.
No pun intended.
Yeah.
Speaking of lines, I feel like we have one every week where we kind of look at each other.
I know which one you're going to say.
I'm like, well, this one don't look right.
Yeah.
And it always ends up that it wasn't right.
Right.
But, obviously the opposite happens as well. And I know we're talking about, even though they're questionable, Noel and Brady Cook, I was surprised to see that OU was coming to Como favored by 3.
I kept waiting for that to flip. I got 2 things. One, somebody's hurt a little bit worse than we think. All right, and he's gonna turn up not play. Maybe that's Brady, like Brady Cook. I don't know. Something else. I mean, there's always that, as we've said, and I've heard too that I can't think of her name. She's on Dan Laboratory's show. It's just about stuff. A young lady, but she went to Missouri. Okay. She does a lot of different college football programs. She said it was a joke that Missouri was number 24. And they would talk about the eye test and said, I don't care about an eye test. Missouri sucks. She went to Missouri, she's right. And I was kind of thinking, man, there just must be something out there that people are like, no, Missouri is not good, okay? But when I saw that line, I'm kidding, how is Oklahoma coming into Columbia and being a 2.5-point favorite? And what's the best they got? What's the best they got? Week 1 at LSU, that they played Texas tough for a half. And who did they beat last week?
The committee loved that name.
Hey, the Black Bears, perennial powerhouse.
Yeah, I'm just kind of like, what? How? Why? This is 2 teams. If anything, could be a pick 'em. And then what the crazy part is if you're saying home field advantage has 3 points, so now you're telling me that Oklahoma's damn near a touchdown better than Missouri is? I'm not buying it. I'm on Mizzou in this one, and I'm confident in Mizzou.
Me too.
On this one.
Theory. It may not be the best working theory, but if you're really searching, trying to investigate as to how Oklahoma favored 3, 2.5, whatever, favored whatsoever in this game, Jackson Arnold has been playing better. I'm not going to say demonstrably better, but since being benched initially, having to go back in under center, Oklahoma has had absolutely no identity, no clue on offense. Now, I'm not going to stand here rather, and say that Missouri has been exemplary in that regard. But if you look at Oklahoma and specifically that injury report for the Sooners too, we're putting so much stock into who may or may not play for the University of Missouri. But the fact of the matter is that the Tigers now have been off for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Brady Cook must play in order to have any semblance of an opportunity or a chance in this game. He must play, and he will play. I don't care what his designation is. He is going out there. He will start the game once more. Will he finish? We had that same question prior to kickoff in Tuscaloosa. But here, we're dealing not only with the sustained lower body injury, the high ankle sprain. Now there's a wrist ailment. Is it more than that? We don't exactly know. He's not going to, in any event, have Mookie Cooper, Nate Noel, too. A lot of this contest, whether you're actually riding with Mizzou, for me here, it depends on what MU can do in the ground game. Because in any event, Cook is going to be compromised out there, okay? This OU outfit, it permits 106 yards on the ground per game. Nate Noel, for all intents and purposes, has not suited up since October the 5th at Kyle Field. He had a cameo appearance the following week versus Auburn, hurt his ankle to go along with the back issue. So what do you have? For me, the Missouri defense, this is going to be the primary reason as to why I'm rolling with the Tigers.
Okay.
Because I think that you can befuddle Arnold to a degree. I understand that he has thrown for 6 touchdowns a total, but completion percentage has been good lately. Heck, he may even have Burks and Farouk back at his disposal out wide. But I haven't seen a consistent ground game from OU, and I haven't seen anything that has really led me to believe that Jackson Arnold, especially after that start to the season, can go into a hostile environment one more time at night in that setting, 6:45 p.m. kickoff in mid-Missouri, and get the job done. If this OU outfit, if it were healthy, if the offensive line, they're trying to piece it together, cobble it together, maybe I'd feel different. But unless you're going to Drew Pine for the majority of this tilt, give me MU, and that figure of 41 and a half over under.
I couldn't believe that either. I said, like, what? I just felt like, hey, not that Missouri's going to ring up 40, but I got Missouri in the high 20s. And come on, Oklahoma scored 12 points or something. Oh, I'm on the over all over.
I'm on the over.
Yeah.
Okay, we're all Mizzou and over, and people are pounding the under. It's going the opposite direction.
I don't see why. It's going to be Now, it was supposed to be raining. Now, the latest forecast, I saw that the rain was going to be over by the time kickoff. But,
supposed to be raining in East Lansing?
No, in
that's the East Lansing joke.
Yeah. Right.
But are they saying strong chance?
Well, it's going to rain all day, like 80% chance. But then it's supposed to have ended by the time kickoff comes. So they won't be playing in the rain, but obviously a wet kind of field.
Wet track.
All right, 2 quick hitters here. College Football Connection, Marty 101, ESPN, those Twitter handles, at Game of Bruns, and
A. Reed Jayhawks.
Talking about this in the break room before we got this fired up. Alvin
one more note real quick on Oklahoma. Yeah. There was another reason, too. You got to drive money someplace, and I think that Missouri bettors would have no interest in this game if Missouri was favored. And I think that you might be trying to draw, like people see this and said, like, oh, no, I'm going to get on that because we're very high on Missouri. We're very high on Missouri. And the bettors out there might be the same way. And meanwhile, Las Vegas saying, hey, Missouri about to get that ass kicked. Right. And we'll all be sitting around saying, like, boy, they know what they're talking about out there. So we'll see. But that could be just a try to get a few more dollars coming from this part of the world.
Great point. And it's why I'm actually more interested in that game than any others on the tilt this weekend. Okay, we talked about it in the break room. Alvin talked about it when we first got on. 11 points is not that much. The Canes, they play Georgia Tech. That's one of those numbers. I think you take a roll on the money line. You got to go against that offense. It's just a tough team to play. 11 points is not that much. I got Haynes King, his shoulder, expected to go, okay? But I think my main point here is that Georgia Tech's not going to score a lot of points, okay? I don't think they're going to. I got to go with under 64 in this one, and my locks of the week have been pretty solid. Under 64, I'm not messing with teams in this game. I'm just sticking with the under. But, Alvin, you think they slip up here and they lose this game?
They have. Georgia Tech has blown a couple of their seasons here over the last decade.
Yeah.
And 11 points is too many. I think Georgia Tech comes in underneath 11. I'm going to leave the over-under alone on that one, only because I'm not sure how many points either team, because they could both be in the 30s, they could both be in the 20s. That's a lot of points, 63.5. And like you say, Miami what was Miami doing, 2 weeks ago until they woke up and ran off like 28 straight in about 3.5 minutes.
Yep.
They can do it
Against Duke, right?
Yeah, I mean, they can do it. But with that being said, Georgia Tech still runs the ball a lot. Georgia Tech still is a ball possession team. I think they come within 11. I have no idea what the score is going to be. So I'm going to take Georgia Tech.
All right.
Bringing me to the 4 games that we have picked, I have picked all 4 home dogs.
Let's go.
I'm just the way they came up. I said, man, you've got LSU, Ole Miss, Missouri, Georgia Tech at home, and underdog. Interesting.
See, that ability, though, what Georgia Tech wants to do, the mentality there, if it is able to be executed as far as ball possession, unique schemes coming out of the backfield, this and that. It's why I'm a little dubious about looking at the number of 63.5, 64 and saying over, but because of the rapid fire nature of the Canes attack. Alvin, you said it yourself, capable of going off at any time, not just against Duke in the 50s, against virtually any competitor that Miami has run into this season. The Canes have not scored fewer than 36 in a single ball game. And this isn't a solidify your Heisman type of game for Cam Ward. But as far as piling up the numbers here, I would feel more bullish on Georgia Tech in this instance if I had seen more in the previous game. The fact that you lost 31-13 to Notre Dame recently, okay, that's one thing. But to come out offensively and lay that sort of egg against Virginia Tech, you scored 6 points versus Virginia Tech, quite honestly. Miami by double digits, Miami by a couple of touchdowns. You're telling me Cam Ward can't accomplish that? I think that Miami is over the bulk of its early season issues as far as taking competitors, adversaries lightly. You know what is at stake here. This is an easy opportunity for you to grab one before the stretch run of the ACC schedule, because we know SMU is not going away.
Right
on the coattails. You need this one, and you need to be authoritative.
Over under?
Still.
Okay.
Still over.
All right. This one I'm very intrigued about. Last one here as we wrap things up. Alvin, I was telling Bradford before the show started in the break room, this line at the beginning of the year, before any games were played.
4.5 KU?
No. We're talking BYU.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
No,
I turned my
good.
page. I'm sorry. Yeah, all right.
It's all good. What do you think this was before the season started?
Probably Utah 6 or 7.
Good guess. Utah 17.5.
Are you serious?
They had the hype this year, remember?
Yeah, I do, but I wouldn't imagine it was that much. But yeah, I guess preseason. Okay.
21-point swing. Now they're 3-point dogs at home.
I'm telling you, I'm on BYU in this one for 2 reasons. All right. One, I think BYU is just better. I think they got a pretty good football team. Yeah. They got a great coach. They are a solid football team.
Yep.
Balanced. Utah has not played not only up to standard, they just haven't played well. Long stretches of games. Bad, not hideous record, but it shows that, man, they're not as good as we thought they were.
500 team, period.
The teams apparently have never played. All right? And I think it's bad luck for Utah that BYU is just better than them, but the fact that they haven't played is kind of like, okay, all right. The Battle of Utah, I think BYU covered. I think they covered that 2.5. I think we're also going over 40 points.
Okay.
Classic Big 12 tilt, right? Classic.
Yeah, I know. Isn't that the truth? Yeah.
Bradford?
I'm not enamored with what I have seen from the BYU defense, though, of late. Think about some of the recent performances, guys, okay? Oklahoma State is what it is this season, and you allowed 35 points to that squad, Mike Gundy's unit. Okay, all right. UCF.
It was like 175 degrees on that field that day. I'm not
On that
turf. It was horrible, apparently.
Oklahoma State's a horrible football.
Yeah, they are. All right.
Yeah.
I'm not making an excuse for the Utah guys, but it was hot.
Could you imagine?
UCF, 24
Yeah.
points per minute. Even Baylor, 28 points. There are chinks in the armor, but it only pertains to that side of the football. Marty, you said it. I love the balance of this team, the offensive dominance that has been on display for the majority of the campaign. Okay? And yet, by the same token, Utah in that environment, and it's going to be a 9:15 kickoff after MU and
Gamblers going to be lining up for that one.
Yeah, exactly.
Excited to monitor the proceedings heading back from Columbia. I like the defensive tenacity for this team, and I like that even in the road contests that we have seen recently, this is a team that is always playing its opposition to within a possession or so. Every single game lately has been close for this particular Utah team. You really think about everything over the last few weeks against Arizona State, even losing by a touchdown or so, holding teams into the teens. That's not going to happen versus BYU. I understand that. But if you're able to rein in Retzlaff to some degree, and there is a marked difference there in caliber of quarterback play. I know right now the BYU is favored by just a field goal or so, but I honestly think that this can be a 1, 2, 3 point game into the fourth quarter. I kid you not. This is my upset of sorts.
Okay.
Spin it around.
Utah.
And I will say that Utah against the spread. It's a 1 point game. That over under a 40.5 though. Maybe Utah figures out a way to muster some additional offense there. Let's play around with it. Let's mess around. Let's go slightly over.
Okay.
I'm on the over, as I said. What's the official line on that one?
And you got
right
BYU.
I got BYU.
Line.
What is official line now?
Three.
-3.
Okay. All right.
40.5.
All right. Okay. That's fine. That's fine.
40.5. Yeah, -3. And you're going BYU over.
Yep.
I'm going Utah on the under.
Okay.
I think they win this game. I really do. And that atmosphere is going to be electric. You mentioned the chinks in the armor. I just think that Utah is going to win this game. Throw some money on that money line too, people. All right. Did you want to do KU?
No, I know that was. I didn't know if we were going to do it or not, but I flipped.
You got something written down though?
I actually had KU covering this 3 points. Only because it's kind of like Custer's last stand for KU. I don't think they're going to run the table and actually get in a bowl game. They played Iowa State tough. They beat Iowa State on the road last week. I don't know what happened to Iowa State last week. When I said last week, I meant last year as far as KU beating them on the road. Last week, I don't know what happened to Iowa State. You shouldn't lose that football game. Not when you got everything to win in front of you. I don't know if you've ever been to the Big 12, or especially when it was the Big 8 basketball tournament. All Iowa comes to Kansas City.
Oh, yeah.
And all Iowa will be in Arrowhead Stadium. KU's going to have to bring a very good game because that crowd is going to be much closer to 50-50 than it is a KU home game. These folks
they don't play around.
It's their escape.
Yeah.
It's a big deal for the good folks up there in Ames and around up in there.
Yeah.
And more power to them.
Yeah.
But they flock to Kansas City, fill up all the hotels. They're everywhere. And I guarantee you they've been looking forward to this game since the schedule came out because KU was supposed to be some good.
It's their big weekend of the year. It's bigger than Christmas.
Right. And because remember KU was supposed to be some good. And I'm sure they bought tickets like mad. Like, this is going to be a great game and a trip before Thanksgiving, and the weather won't be that out of control yet. I'm telling you. Yeah. So I did have Kansas covering the 3, but, that's not something I would actually put some money on myself.
You'd be shocked to know that a few days ago, quite a few Jalen Daniels and Devin Neal T-shirts were available in the stores there in Lawrence. I almost brought you back. That's right. Yeah, you were there. Who did you see?
Yeah.
I wanted to check out actually the football stadium. Give me a construction update for crying out loud. I couldn't maneuver around that campus.
If you get there, actually, you can go online and see it every day. We got the live
my good friend Rob London is behind that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, huge project.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's behind that.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Strategic partners. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'll send you all the texts and the emails, people going off on this whole stadium project.
Oh.
There's been some administrative, like, how we going to pay for the other half, we don't know yet.
Oh.
They're like, wait a minute, hold it. Wait, time out. Nobody mentioned that when they knocked down the one side of the stadium.
Wow.
Yeah, wait.
Yeah, that's a slight issue.
Yeah. And they said they'll get it, like, we're going to play there next year, and then by 2026, it's going to be complete.
Well, based on an eyewitness account, I can tell you it's definitely in flux.
It's in flux, I'm telling you.
What's up with Mass Ave, though? Did you have a good time in Lawrence at that concert?
Fantastic. A bit more of an intimate setting for our concert experience a few days ago. City and Color Fine, Lawrence KU. It was the first trip, actually, Alvin, believe it or not, through all of the years. Haven't yet been able to take in the MU-KU hoops festivities. First time in Kansas, basically 24 hours and out. Lawrence, that is spectacular, though. Whereas you went big stream, buddy. You went.
Yeah, tell the world, baby.
I'm going to tell you right now. Shout out to my beautiful wife, Amy, and my daughter, Addison. I've been to Super Bowls, Final Fours, They think this woman is a god. They worship the bathwater she uses, the ground she walks on. They love her so much. It's like, I'm not saying this a bad way, like a cult-like setting. Like, it's unbelievable. It's 70K in there, broke the Lucas Oil record for that Friday night. The production that went into it. I mean, it's the most amazing thing I've ever seen in my life. I wish tickets weren't that expensive because I think that's absolutely absurd. But the hype is obviously there. She's one of the most famous people in the world. The actual concert, the 4 hours, they sang along with every single word to every single song. She's just a god to those people. But I saw grown women sobbing before the show even started.
You mentioned 4 hours. How about the endurance? Nobody does that in this day and age. Nobody does.
She's the GOAT.
You agree with everything? I'm going to say, I haven't seen her. I'll probably never see her in concert, but everything I hear about it, and I've had friends who have traveled, Minneapolis, when she was in Kansas City, that first go around, that they made it they didn't care how much it cost. They didn't care about anything. They were there.
Yep.
So I know people that have traveled distance to be a part of all this. So more power to her.
Yeah, it was great. I'll never forget it. And before we sign off here, college hardwood in full swing almost, and the NBA as well. How about those Cavs? They still undefeated?
They are undefeated.
Man, that team. I was looking at their roster yesterday. They're balanced, and they got 7-8 really good guys. That's a team. They can't break through it when it comes down, to the playoffs, I think, getting over those bigger teams. But tonight, this isn't official. I think KU beats the brakes off North Carolina tonight, okay? And SIUE, my alma mater, they hung with the Hoosiers the other day, and they go to Illini tonight, and they're getting 28 points. I think the SIUE Cougars cover.
I would probably lean in that direction.
Absolutely.
Now, Kansas played a scrimmage against Arkansas and kind of got dusted. Hunter Dickinson didn't play. He was a little bit hobbled. He didn't play. I think another starter didn't play either. But they did not play very well, especially the newcomers. Okay, they play Howard the other night. They look a lot better, but they were playing Howard. North Carolina was struggling with Elon for part of that game. They didn't look all
Phoenix,
that.
Elon Phoenix.
Yeah, they didn't look all that spectacular. But I think with the game being in Lawrence, I like KU in this one. Yeah. But we'll see. This will be all right, is this a repeat of last year, or are we more solid and well balanced?
The talent is there, no doubt.
But they got to hit some shots.
Yeah, but
nobody could shoot last year.
Right. Hoosiers got to find somebody to hit shots, too.
Jayhawks take care of Howard. Mizzou maybe accomplishing likewise, trying to halt a 20-game skid. At least it was competitive against Memphis the other night.
Hey, there was some goods. There was some good stuff to come away from that game, actually.
Yeah.
Figure out the rotations, figure out the minutes. At least you have a greater amount of length this season, because last year you were sorely lacking.
That's true. And I think this is one where I was like, let's see where Memphis goes from here.
Exactly.
Well, because Memphis loses to Morehead State, and then all of a sudden you're thinking oh man, yeah, the fact that we hung with Memphis for a half doesn't carry as much weight. We'll see where it goes. But
I think they're a tournament team this year, Memphis.
It could be.
And on the other end, Santa Clara is a damn good squad, and the Billikens hung with them. I don't know how long Avila's out for, 4 to 6 maybe. That's going to be interesting if SLU wants to be a tournament team. Him being gone for that long, I'm not very optimistic on that front. But they played a great game, and with him in the game, I think SLU's a tournament team if he doesn't get hurt.
They could be.
They could be.
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll see.
Right.
Sort of tournament would be nice It's Shayman's.
Yeah, true. I mean,
the CIT.
I mean, Santa Clara playing at 10 o'clock in the morning, or what they played at 1 o'clock or noon or something like that. In Sioux Falls, was it?
Sioux Falls, South Dakota.
Yeah, I mean, they come out. Yeah, I know Santa Clara's a pretty good basketball team. They're like, what is going on?
Where are we at? South what? All right, everybody. We appreciate everybody watching and tuning in. We are very grateful, gentlemen. Enjoy the games this weekend.
Absolutely.
And we will touch base. We will text during the games, and we will check in next week. Let's see how this Separation Saturday goes. Thanks, everybody.
You've been listening to the College Football Connection podcast with Marty Jenkins and Alvin Reed on 101 ESPN Sports Talk for St. Louis.